Woohoo! Hello! How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to what is another real big adventure. Oh, yeah. Today, where are we going? Today, we are headed off to... We are headed off to Hawaii specifically, and then making a few pit stops along the west coast in California, and I can't wait to take you all along. We got to get to the airport like right now, so let's get going. Oh yeah! Let's go! Hello everybody. You heard that right. Today we are off to Hawaii and California. This video right here is actually going to focus exclusively on the Hawaii bit, as we were able to record so much here in our 1 week that I think it is worthy of its own video. We begin the trip by flying over from Tokyo to Honolulu. So going into this trip, we actually didn't really know what to expect from Hawaii. Neither of us had gone before, or really to any Pacific island or anywhere too similar to Hawaii itself. We just knew, from the internet that, the beaches were immaculate, the water was beautiful, the nature is unmatched, and that everybody seems to always fall in love with the place after going. And let me tell you, after visiting, I can totally see why. It is such a unique place with some of the most beautiful landscapes I had ever seen. So I know a lot of people like to go to Hawaii to beach bum, relax, and things like that, but we really aren't the kind of people who like to go vacation for the sake of sitting on a beach. So we got a jam-packed schedule of all sorts of fun activities. So let's get right into this one right here. Here, we have just arrived. We're in the rental car. It's time to go. So after we landed, we grabbed a rental car and headed straight for the Diamond Head State Monument. We were going to have quite a bit of jet lag coming off this plane. I think it was about 19 hours total. And, my personal favorite way of getting over jet lag is simply just never rest. Just hit the road and go, go, go. So anyway, Diamond Head is this amazing hike near the eastern edge of Waikiki's coastline with some of the most wild views of Hawaii's beautiful water. Diamond Head is actually the name of the volcanic tuff cone that was formed from a volcanic eruption here about 300 years ago. Diamond Head was also used for military purposes back in 1904 until 1955 to strengthen coastal defense, and was used during World War II for lookout purposes. Nowadays, though, there's no more military use. It is just about a 1.6 mile round trip hike around the outer edge of the volcano with some insane views. After we came back down from Diamond Head, we went around the Waikiki area in Honolulu, including the Waikiki beach itself. We went around here for a little bit, but we were so exhausted from the flying and the hiking that we ended up just grabbing food and hitting the sack shortly thereafter. But I believe we came back quite a bit through here on our time on Oahu, so I'm just going to include a bunch of footage from the Waikiki beach area. The next day, we got up bright and early to go kayaking near Kailua Beach on the windward side of Oahu, which to my understanding is just the western side of the island. This was incredibly fun and was my first time kayaking out into the ocean. Now, we didn't actually go that far into the ocean. We stopped on an island nearby designated as a bird sanctuary, not far off from the coast, and then just spent a lot of time on Kailua Beach itself. The water here was spectacularly beautiful and was a shade of blue I had never really seen before in water. And I don't know if the cameras are doing it, any justice. I think this is one of those things where you really just have to go see for yourself. After chilling for quite a while, we continued onward to this place, also on the windward shore. However, what we didn't realize when planning this trip is that everything closes pretty early in Hawaii in terms of outdoor activities. And now, granted, maybe I'm just dumb and everything closes this early in terms of outdoor activities everywhere. But the sun didn't actually set until about 7 or 8 while we were there. But beach rentals and this botanical garden actually closed around 5. So we didn't actually have a lot of time to go around the botanical garden, but we were able to drive through the main road and go up to a small little observatory before we had to get out. On the topic of running out of time, another big contributor to things not going perfectly to plan is simply that there are so many places in Hawaii that you can just stop on the side of the road and go look at something crazy cool. It reminded me a lot of Iceland in that sense, other than the fact that Hawaii is very hot, has way more people than Iceland, and really is absolutely nothing like Iceland in any way, other than that there is insane scenery anywhere you go. The next day, we headed up to the North Shore, which was actually the most traffic-heavy bit of our trip. I think we actually spent more time stuck in traffic going around the roads on the North Shore than we spent seeing stuff on the North Shore. I had heard that the beaches on the North Shore were some of the best on Oahu, and though we didn't really go to any beach on the North Shore, I can't say too much about it, but based on the number of cars parked in both the parking lots and just along the road near the beaches, there has got to be something insane there. Anyway, on the North Shore, we first hit the Dole Plantation, which is, I think, primarily a pineapple farm, but also has some other things growing in it. We were able to get some Dole Whip here and fresh pineapple, and, let me tell you, it was some of the sweetest pineapple I'd ever had. Oh my god. We also went on this little train ride through the plantation and got to see the pineapple fields and learn a little bit of history about the plantation itself. I didn't actually pay too much attention and didn't really remember anything from that history lesson, other than that James Dole, the dude who founded Dole, he was called the Pineapple King. And I'm just gonna say it right now, that is a fantastic name. What a superlative. After the Dole Plantation, I feel like we did a lot that day as we spent a whole day, but looking back at the footage and my memory, it really feels like we actually didn't even do all that much other than being stuck in traffic. We went ahead and ate at Giovanni's Shrimp Truck, which was really good and of course very famous, and then we headed over to Matsumoto's Shaved Ice, where we had shaved ice, and it was also really, really good. We also had this little hike up a waterfall, but we didn't know this at the time, but there was almost no water on the waterfall, so I don't really think it was too much to see or record. After that, we bid farewell to Oahu and headed off to Maui. So once again, we had no idea what to expect going into Maui, but boy was it different to Oahu. There aren't really any massive cities, the population is far more spread out, the land is much drier in most of Maui from my experience, and amazingly, beautifully, there were no traffic jams at all. So after we landed, our first stop here was to go zipline through the jungle canopies of Maui. Maui is a very interesting island in that half the island is very dry while the other half is very lush and green. And I'm not sure if the distribution's 50-50, but anyway, you get my point. But if you were paying any attention in elementary school science class, you may know why. So I sure didn't pay any attention in elementary school class. So let me tell you and give you a quick rundown of what the rain shadow effect is. So essentially, it is a phenomenon where one side of a mountain range experiences significantly less precipitation than the other side, creating a dry region. Moist air is forced to rise on the windward side of the mountains and cools and releases its moisture as rain or snow. In this case, of course, it would be rain. As this now dry air descends on the leeward or the downward side, it warms, dries out faster, and leaves the area behind the mountain range in a dry or shadowed state. And yes, you are absolutely right. That is exactly what Google tells you when you Google what is the rain shadow effect. But now you don't have to. Wonderful. Pay attention in class, kids. Anyway, I hadn't gone ziplining in so long, and it was so incredibly fun. The walk through the jungle was also super nice, and it was so cool to see all the new plants and wildlife. Luckily, we had a GoPro on us, so we were able to record some crazy cool footage, and so I'll just let that run now.
Okay?
Okay.
Nervous?
Okay. Too fast. Don't worry, we're gonna get even faster.
Oh, really?
So scary.
So after that, we darted over to some docks and boarded a sunset dinner cruise. There are so many options for dinner cruises on Maui or Oahu for that matter, but we ended up doing a Trinity cruise after doing a bunch of research. And, honestly, I would highly recommend this. The wind, though, is absolutely insane, and I recall the people on the boat saying something like this was the second windiest commercial or small boat dock or something in the entire world. I'm not entirely clear on what it was, but anyway, we were able to moor away from the wind and enjoy a wonderful dinner and sunset. But there's no rest for the wicked, let me tell you. We were hitting the road again the next day, and it was quite a day of driving as we were driving the road to Hana. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right, I don't know. But this is a 64.4 mile long road connecting the main hub town of Kahului, I don't think I'm pronouncing that right either, to Hana. We didn't drive the whole road, and we actually just went to Hana, and it still took like 4 hours or something because of how slow we were going. But anyway, the road itself is a pretty tricky drive, full of curves and sudden one-lane bridges, and it was certainly though one of the most beautiful drives I've ever done. We didn't go during any time of we didn't go during any peak tourist season, but I've heard this road jams pretty bad at some times during the year. I'm just gonna go ahead and let some footage of the road run here, which we drove both during the day and during the sunset on the way back. So along the road, we stopped at several places, but I'm only going to cover a couple of them in this video. The first one being this place, which is a black sand beach on Maui. So now I've already been to a black sand beach in Iceland, and I can confidently say that both of them are equally beautiful, except one, you're wearing 70,000 layers of clothes, and the other, you're jumping into warm water. So the experiences are different, but they are both beautiful in their own right. If you've ever been curious as to how a black sand beach comes to be, it is actually just when volcanic lava flows enter the ocean, which rapidly cools them down. They become black, and then they eventually shatter into basalt fragments that become sand. Am I smart enough to know if this happens everywhere that volcanic lava flows enter the water? It probably isn't, and I don't know. But yeah, that's at least how this one came to be. So after we arrived in Hana, we made another quick little stop at an unmarked small hike that actually led over to a red sand beach. And this was actually the first time I've ever heard of a red sand beach. And let me tell you, it was really pretty. It just had finished raining, so I'm not sure if the water from the rain impacted the color of this quote-unquote sand or the rocks at all, but at least to my naked eye, it was quite red. So if you're curious at all as to how a red sand beach is created, it is when volcanic rock that is very rich in iron breaks apart and then subsequently oxidizes or rusts when it's exposed to the oxygen. It becomes red, and then slowly over time it'll break down further and further and further until it's these small rocks that we tend to call sand. Following this, we explored Hana for a little bit on foot and in our car, but really it is just your very typical small town. It is very lush and green and beautiful, but yeah, there's not too much to do, at least not that we found. So we just looked around and left. The next morning, we woke up bright and early again, as it was time for our trip to go snorkeling at Molokini. So Molokini is this partially submerged volcanic crater, which used to actually be used for military tests, but now is a bird sanctuary and is primarily used for snorkeling and scuba diving. This was our first time snorkeling, so we didn't really have too much of a clue what we were doing or how to properly move, but we were able to get the hang of it and had a great time. The tour we were on also promised us to go see sea turtles in this place called Turtle Town, if the weather permitted, and let me tell you, we were lucky enough for the weather to permit. So because of this, we jumped back on the boat and headed over a little bit closer to Maui before stopping and testing our luck to see if we could snorkel with some sea turtles. And after a little bit of searching, we were able to see these magnificent creatures, and honestly, it was like a dream. These turtles are so majestic and big. It was my first time seeing them as well on this trip, and it was magical. Despite the early start, we weren't done with the day quite yet. After resting a little bit, we hopped back in the car and drove all the way up Haleakala to the summit. So Haleakala is this massive volcano that actually forms about 75% of Maui that is still active, though it hasn't erupted in something around 500 years. Nowadays, Haleakala is a national park and is also home to Hawaii's first observatory. So it's really easy to drive up to the summit of Haleakala, and it is a really popular place to see the sunset or stargaze if you choose to stay that late. It's not the shortest drive on the planet though. It is about, I can't remember, actually an hour or two to get to the top. And the top is very highly elevated. It is about 1,000 feet or 3,000 meters above sea level. So with that comes the temperatures at these high altitudes. In other words, it was very cold. So we had to bring our layers specifically for this excursion, but it was so worth it. And I'm not sure if it always looks like this, but on the day we went, it was extremely cloudy on Maui. So on the drive over there, I was a little bit worried that we weren't going to be able to see any sunset. But much to my surprise, we ended up driving through the clouds, and we were able to see the sunset above a sea of clouds. And what a magical way to end our time in Hawaii. On our last day, we didn't really do too much other than beach bum and shop around, as we were exhausted from all the activities that we were doing the previous 6 days. So going into Hawaii, once again, as I said at the beginning of the video, I didn't really know what to expect. But I can confidently say now that I have been, that it is the best place I've ever been to in America. And I don't even think it was very close compared to everywhere else. I'm actually going to go ahead and end this video here. Editing Dawn here again. I'm actually not going to end the video here. I'm going to cover all the food we ate, and I'm just going to do that in our old time-lapse compilation form here. So go ahead and enjoy. I am so glad that you guys spent the time to watch this one. I had a lot of fun in Hawaii, and as I mentioned before, it was one of the best places I've ever been, especially in America. So earlier, I also did mention that we went to California after going to Hawaii, and we did record stuff there in San Francisco, Yosemite, San Diego, and Los Angeles, but I'm going to make that into its own separate video whenever I get the time to do that. I'm actually currently in the process of planning our next real big adventure. I'm going to keep you in the dark about that one for a little bit, but you know, as always, I'll see you in the next one. Let's go!